In this one, we are deep offshore in the new boat at some wild oil platforms. I rock my new big game spear gun setup, and it gets tight. After that, we do an awesome scuba dive, and at the end, we cook up what I speared. Come along for it. This is Braden Dives. What is happening, y'all? Before we get into it, wanted to announce the winner of the giveaway from last video for the Panga Powder Square Grouper combo, my new seasoning line made available to you guys if you want to support the channel and get some awesome seasonings. So, gonna do that right now. I've got a random comment generator here, and the winner is Bruce_W. Congrats, Bruce. I will be reaching out to you for your mailing info, and I'll be getting that package out to you. Really appreciate everyone who commented feedback on the last video, the first trip out in the Panga. If you missed out on the giveaway, in the pinned comment, I made mention that we were doing that, and all you had to do was like the video and drop a comment. So yeah, big announcement. We have a new seasoning line. I have made mention of it towards the end of some of the past handful of videos, but I wanted this to be kind of the big launch, being that we've got the new Panga rocking and rolling, and being that the name of the seasoning is Panga Powder, Panga Powder, whatever you want to call it. And if you're not really catching on to the name right away, basically Panga Powder is kind of a play on the common association that Pangas have here in the United States, which is their the drug running operations. Obviously, the boats are not only used for that. Throughout the entire planet, just about, they're widely used just for recreational and commercial fishermen in countries that aren't as developed. But figured it'd be kind of funny to do that. We have a square grouper combo. That's where you can buy all three of the seasonings, and that is a play on square groupers is what we call them, which is floating drugs in the water that have fallen or been ditched out of a Panga boat or even helicopters and whatnot. So yeah, that is the seasoning line. It is available on my website, bradensherron.com. We've got 3 different flavors. Should cover all your bases for anything you want to cook. It's great on chicken, steak, wild game, and of course fish. And every time I cook, I use it. So I think it is great. I think you guys will too. And it's a great way for y'all to support me making these videos. So if you're interested, link down in the description. And with that said, I think that is the gist of what I wanted to cover there. Let's hop into this video.
Won't you come and have a beer? There's somebody that you gotta hear playing downtown. I suppose you got your choice. Tell me have
These rods, these are fun. Have fun, boys. Alrighty. Before we get into it, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button. It helps the channel with the YouTube algorithm. And consider subscribing if you haven't already. But here we go. We are jumping straight underwater for this one. I've got my buddy Blaine and Nick. Nick's in the water diving with me. And we have the big guns today. Rocking a float line as well, in case we come across a big cubera. That way we'll be able to stop it from diving down too deep. But first dive here. Scoping things out. Today is a big fish hunting kind of day. I'm not going to be eyeing the mangrove snappers. There I do see a cobia, which is on the shooter list, but I'm thinking it's right there at that minimum size. It's nothing big. And being my first dive, my first priority is clear this rig out to see if there's a shootable cubera first. So I hold out. But one thing I wanted to note, diving with this float line is pretty inhibiting around these oil platforms. I have to stay on the down current side, otherwise the line will get all tangled in the legs. And also just the drag makes it more difficult to dive with. I've got a 75-foot float line, pushing 100-foot total length, so I'm a bit limited on depth. You can really feel it, the float line, when you're around 60 foot and deeper. But I need it to be that length because I don't want to have to go deeper than 100 foot if we got to extract anything. That's the idea, at least. But also, you do have to just be mindful of keeping that float line clear of yourself before you shoot a fish. And then here you can actually see I had gone onto the side of the rig, and the current kind of pulled that float line around this corner, and I had to retrace and go pull it off. I actually used it here to just hold myself still before this next dive. And this next one will be my third dive. And I'm just going to let it roll. So I let it rip on that cobia. Made a high shot. I was not too thrilled about that. Fish takes off. It tombstones the float line for a second. And I decide to swim the float line over to Blaine in the boat.
I'm gonna need another gun. That koa. I'll grab the float line.
And I start working this fish in real lightly. I know that shot's high. I'm not sure if it's at risk of tearing. So I have Blaine give me a second gun here so I can put another spear in this fish. So Blaine's working the cobia up. He's doing real good letting it run and working it up when it stops. And once it gets close enough, I put another shot in it and we secure this fish. Get it in the boat and dispatch it.
Legal.
So not a big cobia, but it was indeed legal. And after that, I swapped over to my reel gun setup here. I was using the float line big gun to scope the rig out, see if there is a big cubera. Now that I dove it and didn't see one, I'm going back with the more maneuverable reel gun, and I'm going to work kind of through the rig inside where I couldn't really get to with that float line. Look around for other fish I possibly didn't see, or maybe get lucky and have, say, an African pompano cruising on the outside. There, I actually see another cobia.
Hey Nick, it's another cobia. Huh? He was at 50. Big AJs. Big amberjacks.
I told Nick about it, but it was down there a little too far. He's more of a scuba diver. But here he shoots a barracuda to get some meat. He lives out of town and likes to fill the freezer up with as much fish as he can when he makes it down here.
Don't get wrapped up too bad in it. Be careful.
There, actually, it grabbed the line. I saw that he kind of had that reel line clustered up, and that barracuda ran, and it actually would have pulled him down with him tangled up. So I kind of saw that coming, held on to the line to slow the fish, and it helped out. And here are my next few dives, just the highlights. You may have noticed there was a small cubera cruising around, and amberjacks. That was cool. But the season had just closed on those. So after checking that all out, we made a move. So new spot, jumping back in with the big guns to check it out. And this is just unreal. Just getting to dive down and post up and be immersed in all of this is something else. We got big spinner sharks cruising on the outside. I have this cobia swimming around me, and just balls and balls of giant mangrove snapper, as well as tarpon. You'll see more of. And lots of barracudas. Here, Nick connects on a mangrove. It's causing a bit of commotion, and that draws up this amberjack, which is really cool. And then the commotion also draws in some hungry sharks. I kick over to try to deter them from snatching this thing. I tell Nick to pull the fish up.
Good job. Perfect. Perfect.
Is that AJ?
Yeah.
He gets it out of the water, so there's no more thrashing. When these sharks sense a wounded fish or see it, they just turn feral. And I just follow Nick to the boat here, making sure these sharks keep away. And when Nick was actually getting into the boat, he started kicking real hard to hoist himself over the gunnel, and I looked over and a shark started darting back in towards him like it had initially after the mangrove. So they just react on pure instinct when there's something thrashing. But in all of my experiences, they're smart enough to turn away when they get close to us, or at the very least, just only keep their sights on the fish. And you might have heard I was actually yelling at the sharks, trying to get them to turn off. I've noticed sometimes that'll actually work. So that's what that was about. At least I think it's working. Once that settles down, here's my next dive. Really scoping around. Got these tank amberjacks cruising all over. And if you notice, this one right here has a baby amberjack with a jig hanging out of its mouth, which is crazy because right before this, Blaine had been jigging, hooked a fish, got it up to the surface, and we saw that it was a baby amberjack. But before he could get it to the boat, something big just smashed it. There was a huge splash, and it broke off. So, pretty sure that is what took his jig and that baby amberjack. Pretty wild to see it cruising around down there. Here I switched back over to the reel gun so I can get into the rig. And I'm sitting at 82 feet. But I am not seeing anything other than these mangroves, amberjacks, and the usual suspects. So no crazy, more sought after fish, you can put it that way, that I would want to go after. So at that, I've kind of cleared the rig. And now we are actually going to be doing a scuba dive. Nick and I brought the gear, and I'm actually able to stow it all the way in the floor storage under my leaning post seat, which is awesome. But now we are going to roll the footage from that. So like I mentioned earlier, Nick is more of a scuba diver when it comes to diving. He enjoys it more. So I wanted to get a dive in here at the end of the day for that. And also just so I could film more of these fish on the big lens. Here you can see we've got all sorts of fish. Spanish hogfish, vermilion, snapper, aka beeliners, angelfish, cool to check out. And as you can see, Nick brought the spear gun down. He wanted some more meat, so he's going for a few red snapper. Nick shoots his 2 snapper. After that, he hands me the gun, and I go for a snapper before his alarm goes off, signaling we need to start making our way back up. And I'm able to send him home with 1 more snapper. And that is going to do it for the offshore dive-in action in this one. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. If y'all did, remember, hit that like button. It helps us out with the algorithm. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I'll be happy to get back with you. Here's a shot I took on the way up of all the tarpon. This was awesome. And now I will cut it to the kitchen. We're gonna cook up this cobia. So to start, we got 2 cups of water. We're gonna bring that to a boil. Dump the rice in. Gonna do a cup of that in there. All right, we got the water up to a boil. Threw the cup of rice in. Now that's on simmer. And I'm going to put a little chicken bouillon flavor in there. Now I'm just going to let that simmer and stir it occasionally till it is ready. So now I've got some cherry tomatoes cut up. Also going to cut up some mushrooms. Next up, gonna cut an onion. And to go with the rice, I'm actually gonna cook some eggs. And do it a little hibachi style. A little salt. A little pepper. Rice is getting close. Eggs are done now. Just swap those over to a bowl. And over here, I'm not even gonna bother cleaning the pan. We're gonna throw some olive oil in here. Turn the heat back on. Stick of butter. I'll let that melt down a little bit. Then I'm gonna throw the mushrooms in. I almost forgot. I'm actually going to cook the bell peppers in there with that. Now on this, I'm going to throw some salt as well. and some pepper. With a hint of Cajun. You know what? I was going to cook the tomatoes with the fish, but I think I'm just going to throw it in the mix right here. And I'm just going to cook this stuff till it's got a nice golden tint to it. Eyeballing everything we're doing here. I am not a professional. Alrighty, now for the main ingredient of this. We got some beautiful loin cuts of cobia. Heck, you know what? I'm gonna cook all of that. I had it vacuum sealed, and that right there is hard to beat. In my opinion, cobia is one of the best textures as far as fish goes as you can get. I mean, it's nice and firm, cooks real good, freezes great. Now I'm gonna season these up, get it on some tin foil, and we're gonna throw it in the oven at 350 degrees. All right, this looks like it's about done. I'm just gonna lower the heat all the way down, that way it stays warm. For the fish, I'm gonna lay down a good coat of olive oil. And what we're gonna do is actually put all 3 seasonings on the cobia. I'm just gonna section it off. And what I'm gonna start with doing is just coating each piece of fish in the olive oil, and then I'll season them. This is just how I usually do it. I'm not sure, but we might be out of butter, which I also usually use, but we can get away without it. All right, so first up, we got the Cajun Contraband. This one is a little sweeter than the blackening. And of course has that good old Cajun flavor. Now let's do the blackening. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but the blackening is like a Creole blackening. You can see it's got more greenery in there. You can see the big flakes. What you can do with this is actually cook the blackening in the pan so you can get that real good blackening coat on it. But you don't have to do it the blackening style, quote unquote. You can throw it on just like anything else. Next up is the bootlegged lemon butter. This one, as the name says, tastes like lemon butter. Really good. I eat it with chicken as well. This one is a really good fish seasoning. I mean, who doesn't put lemon and butter on their fish? So it's kind of a given. Once we're seasoned up, I'm gonna throw a little more olive oil on here. And yeah, I'm out of butter, so I'm just gonna throw this in the oven just like that. Olive oil and seasoning. Got it on 350 over here. I'm gonna put a timer on 20 minutes. We'll check it at 20, might take a little longer. We'll see what it looks like then. All right, so a little final touch for the fish that I've never tried before that we're gonna do is put some balsamic vinaigrette over the top once it is done. Again, I've never tried this. I think it would go good. It smells like it would go great with fish, so I'll let y'all know how that is. All right, it has been 20 minutes. Fish looks done. I'm gonna pull out and check it. Secret to fish is not to overcook it. Just get it to that point where it's nice and flaky. I'm gonna check this piece here. That's about the thickest one. That can go another 5 minutes. These other ones might be done here though. That one's done. This piece is a little bit under. So what I'm gonna do, I don't want to overcook these other pieces, so I'm gonna pull those off and let that one there finish. This one's probably done too. Yep. So I got my plate started here. Just gonna start laying the fish up top. Gotta love how Kobe just stays so uniform. It doesn't just fall apart on you. I mean, look at that. Let this finish. All right, so now, you already saw I put a base layer of this down. I'm gonna throw some more over the top. Let those juices marinate on the fish. And again, I'm gonna try this. Gonna dash a little balsamic vinaigrette on there. Hopefully I don't regret that. And there we go. That is a whole dang meal right there. All right, here we go. First bite, gonna get a little bit of the lemon butter. Oh my gosh. Holy smokes. That is awesome. I could taste that little bit of vinaigrette on there too. I'm gonna get some tomato and bell pepper and onion. That's really good. Sage just joined the party. I think she smells what we got here. All right, next up, I think this is the Cajun. I think this is Black Market Blackening, actually. Yeah. That was amazing. Last bite here for the video, and then I'm going to crush the rest of this. A little bit of Cajun now. You can't go wrong with any of them, any way you want to cook it. Really just preference. That right there is a meal. Definitely gonna be doing that again. Mushrooms, tomato, the bell pepper, all that just makes it super juicy. And it's got lots of flavor. One thing I say I would add, something to make it a little more crunchy. But overall, really good. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really appreciate y'all tuning in. And remember, if you like the video, remember hit that like button. It really helps the channel out with the YouTube algorithm. And consider subscribing if you like what you see. You got a lot more offshore diving, spearfishing action out of the new boat coming at y'all. I filmed a ton of videos that we're gonna be cranking out in that and shooting fish. So lots to come. Again, go check out the seasoning line if you're interested and want to support the channel. But that's all I've got. I'm gonna kill the rest of this food and I will catch y'all in the next one. You guys let me know, how can I make this better? I am no pro. Just trying to learn new ways to cook fish, make it better.